It's at 5:34. We'll call the meeting to order. If you would join us in prayer. Father God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to serve in your kingdom and to serve our community. Father God, we just ask that you bless us with wisdom to know how to do that best. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Would you please stand and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Newsom? Commissioner Kerr?
Here.
Commissioner Horner? Vice Chair Knight?
Here.
Chairman Jackson?
Here. First order of business is consent. 1A, consideration and approval of October 1st minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. Number 3, public hearings, consideration and possible approval for rezone request for property located at Kell Switch. Mr. Hightower? I know this is something that we have heard last month, and we're waiting on a update.
Yes, sir. This is a rezone from A1 to R2 to build duplexes. All the surrounding properties are A1. Future land use shows R1. Applicant never reached out with more detailed plans, as far as I know.
You say did or did not?
Did not.
Okay.
The subject property is currently zoned ag, and future land use map shows the zoning as residential low density. This location is rural water and would not have sewer. Staff recommendations is, although there is a large portion of the land zoned R2, a block to the south, and it is used for duplex, staff's concern is current zoning and future land use does not align with R2.
Thank you. I believe the applicant is here. Would you like to speak?
Well, yeah.
If you would come, just for the record, if you'd come to the mic and state your name for us. Thank you.
How are you doing? All right. George Breeden. I'm the partner in the LLC that owns that property. We looked at that, bought the property. Our intention was to build 2 duplexes on it, not massive amounts. A1, like I said, there's several duplexes within a block, and then within 3/4 of a mile there's several more. So I don't know what the future plan for that area is, but it's pretty limited to. I mean, I would be fine with R1, I guess, but I would rather have a couple of duplexes there just to generate more revenue. So I mean, that's kind of where we stand on that. I'm not sure what the future holds for that area, but until there's a thoroughfare that goes instead of coming back around into Sunny Meadows, there's not much else that's as far as commercialization of that area, I don't think.
I think that was one of our questions last time, is we didn't really know what was planned there, so two duplexes was the ultimate goal.
Well,
for
I
you.
mean, that's going to be limited by DEQ for one. I mean, if it goes R1, I'm going to have to break it into half-acre lots, which is, I think, the minimum on
septic.
On
yes.
septic. And with duplexes, I mean, I'm going to have to probably going to have to go aerobic system anyway. Either way we go, because of the soil in that area out there. So, yeah. And I know the big group of duplexes to the south, they've got 3 lagoons back. I think there's 3 lagoons back there. I'm not sure there's any more I can add to that, but I don't know. I don't know what our options are. It's A1 now. I don't know for sure what within the city limits I can do with A1 except build one house on it. So
Right.
And to be honest, I mean the first purpose for that property is to put a pond cabinet for fiber, to get fiber out to that area with the previous company that I owned, 360 Communications, and we bought that. And we're sitting there. We built a pond cabinet on it, and we're waiting there. We're sitting there, got an acre of land that I've got to go mow if I can't find somebody to do it, and I'd rather, so yeah. that's kind of where we're at.
Is there any questions for the applicant? Thank you, appreciate it. Is there anyone who wanted to speak for or against? If you would come to the mic and state your name for us.
Hi, I'm Tony Brooks. I talked last month about the concerns of just having the space since there's no sewer, just having the space for that. I know that the surrounding neighbors are very against having multiple duplexes, just because the amount of foot traffic we have, the amount of traffic we have on our roads, it's already very congested, especially when it comes time for holidays or shows or things like that. They go on Choctaw. If anything happens on 75, they all come right through there. And without having access to that, the bypass, it just cuts everything off. So we're just really concerned about having that many more people over there with the aerobic system and the amount of renters that are already over there in our neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there any discussion?
I have a quick question on the survey that's shown here. It looks like there's 2 parcels, is that correct? Or is there just an easement along Sunnyside there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a utility easement along that north side.
Okay.
There's a lot of water runs through there. I don't know, the city runs through there, or it's just rural water, but I know there's several water lines run across that north end.
It'd be rural water.
So you're looking at that kind of 262 feet by whatever the other 165 feet there. Okay.
I guess one question that I would have, if it's
If you don't mind, please come to the mic. We've got folks who watch online, so thanks.
well, if I'd known that, I might not. I guess the question there would be if it's not approved for R2, I mean, obviously, I think R1 would be a given, I would hope, since it's city limits and it's ag right now, A1, so I don't know what the options there are.
So since we advertised for R2, we should be able to step down to an R1
Right.
without refiling an application.
Okay.
If that's your preference.
Well, preference would be R2, but, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's not like we're trying to put in 100 duplexes there, so I might have a little more pushback there if we were, but as far as the traffic goes, I mean, that's everyone's concern, not just there, everywhere in the Durant area, so, but yeah, that's.
So the preference would be if you're not able to get R2.
Well, yeah, I mean, if
do
we're not
R1?
gonna get it rezoned to R2, I mean, I've gotta get it rezoned to something.
Okay.
So I don't, so I can get lot blocked and all that permitting and stuff done, whatever that process is.
Gotcha, makes sense, thanks. Any discussion?
I mean, my issue is not so much this project, because just the confines of the property, he's not gonna be able to get that much stuff on it. At the same time, I'm not in favor of an R2, because that's very much spot zoning, that's not in accordance with the future map. R1 is kinda spot zoning, but it's at least in accordance with that future map. There's a reason to start R1 in that area. I wouldn't have an issue with R1, but I would with R2.
Would you mind elaborating on, why you view that as spot zoning when we have R2 nearby, and that's also future land use includes like a low to mid-level density?
I don't think that R2 would be included on that future land use. I think it's more of an R1 situation, but that R2 that's over there, in my opinion, that shouldn't have been approved, because that was spot zoning. There's this random duplex out there in this area that's all agriculture. But that being said, it doesn't directly touch this property. This property is surrounded by A1. I don't think that the fact that there's a random spot zoned R2 that somebody approved, Lord knows when, is a good reason to spot zone this. But that's just my take on it. And like I said, it's not this project. I'm not worried about this project. It's the question of, one, what precedence is set for other people and other things why is it okay for us to spot zone one time but not another time? And then two, I lost my train of thought, so I don't know where I was going with that, but my brain didn't go that far. So whatever my thought two was, but I wouldn't have any issue with R1. I'm not worried about this particular project per se. It's just setting the precedent for other projects. And it is kind of the textbook definition of spot zoning when nothing touching it is an R2.
There's actually a clarifying question that I have. Does the definition of spot zoning, does it have to touch, or does it have to be, in the same vicinity? I mean, we're talking 300 foot here.
It really depends on the overall characteristics of the neighborhood, and there's no set definition that says it must touch for it to be or not be spot zoning. So if you happen to have a random block of property and there's a very thin circle of maybe random A1 around it, but then everything else is commercial and other stuff, it's just property that hasn't caught up with the situation that exists. But in this case, that's not really what we're looking at, because we're looking at an area that is very agriculture. There is some R1 that's not far away, but really there's not any R2 other than this random duplex that's kind of there for no reason.
So when we had the discussion on, when we created the future land use map, I can remember asking the question, does the low density, does that equal R1? The answer that at least as I remember it, was that's no, that was a no, but that instead it was low density, meaning R1, potentially R2, so low to mid, because we were not going to label exactly
Right.
which ones they were. So to me, that gives some leeway, some freedom in that.
Sure. And I mean, the city can do whatever the city wants, but I'm just telling you what my perspective is. I'm not cool with R2. I'm fine with R1.
Well, I was just following up on your comment about you felt like that was like the low density meant or equated to R1, and maybe I misunderstood the.
For this area, it equates more to R1. Whenever you're looking at density, you're looking at the overall neighborhoods, you're looking at kind of the character of what's around it. This is isolated houses that are kind of parcel by parcel. This is not duplexes. This isn't apartment complexes, nothing like that. So that's why I said this would be more in keeping with low density residential and more keeping with the R1.
How far down is the, I don't know, I don't think it's zoned. It may be out of city limits too. The mobile home park that's south.
Just south of it. It's actually just north of the road that enters into where those trailer houses are.
Where is this that we're talking about?
It looks like it's just off the map on the screen.
If you pull up the satellite imaging map,
Yeah, just barely. Yeah. Looks like those are all half acre.
Oh, okay, sorry, I was looking way too far south, I got you.
Yeah, those are all half acre, just for the record.
just about everything out there is half acre because there's no sewer, so.
Shane, did you have any comments?
I mean, I don't know that I have any differing comments. I don't really have a problem putting R2 there, because there is some other that's what I would say fairly adjacent. And I agree with Whitney. The reason I don't have a problem with R2 there is because they are very limited in what they can do. I think with the kind of natural progression of things out there, it makes more sense, in my opinion, to possibly have an R1. And I realize that if it goes R1, that the owner's probably going to split that into 2 lots and put 2 single-family homes there. But I still think that's more in keeping with what is currently there, and what I could see as potential development along that road would be probably more R1 than R2 as things continue to grow in that direction.
I think the comment that I would make that would agree with Whitney is, you know, I would hate to set a precedence here that might apply differently in a different area. I think that comment is the one that has stuck for me.
Can I make one
Sure.
comment? And I'm probably stepping on my own toes here, but I kind of agree with what she's saying there, you know. So, I mean, with that all being said, I mean, I know how this all works. Somebody come back 6 months from now and wants to put something right in the middle of a housing, you know, single-family housing development. They say, well, you did it out there. So, as the person that spent the money to get this R2, if we can do R1, I think I'm fine with that. So I'll make that easy. I'll make that decision easy for everybody. I'm not gonna you know, contest that decision, because I don't want to be the guy that's, you know, well, they zoned you R2 and it shouldn't have been zoned R2. But so I'm good with that. Okay.
Thank you, appreciate that. With that, is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve as R1.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes, thank you. B, consideration and possible approval for a rezone for property located at 1408 South 9th.
Yes, this is a rezone from commercial to industrial to expand the storage facility. No property abutting it is industrial. Future land use is commercial. Applicant would have to bring in fill dirt to level location, which could negatively impact other properties. Let's see what else we have here.
You have it written down. Philip, can I jump in?
Yep.
I'm aware of this. I'm aware of the owner of this project. I'm aware of what they're intending to do. I'm not sure that they intended. I don't know if they're here tonight. I don't see them, but I'm not sure that they intended to apply for an I rezoning request. What they're wanting to do is actually allowed in C2, as long as it comes before planning and zoning and city council. So yeah, I mean, it would be like applying for a conditional use permit.
Right.
So self-serve storages are allowed in C2 with restrictions according to our ordinances. So I don't know that they need to change this to I, especially considering future land use calls for it to be C2 as well. And I don't know, it's probably not our call to make since the owner's not here, but Whitney, I'm going to ask you a question. Since this was advertised as a rezoning to I, are we allowed to make a recommendation that this just be, this remains C2, or should they have to come back and apply for a conditional use permit? And it may not be our call to make if they're really wanting this to be I or nothing, but I don't think that's the intention after talking with the owner about this a month or so ago.
My preference would be to table this for now and see what the owner actually says before we just do something. In theory, the conditional use permit is within, I mean, it's less than a zoning request, so in theory, I guess we could, but I'm really uncomfortable with that legally without looking that
I
up.
think without the owner being here, I'd be a little hesitant to make that determination for them.
Is the applicant present? I will move to table B till next month.
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. 3C, consideration possible approval for replat and rezone request for property located at 301 North 4th.
And I will say I may have to abstain on this one because I think this involves a county interest that I can't vote on, so.
Yes, it does. They want to rezone from R3 to C3. Future land use is R1, but the property has commercial directly to the south of it.
So if you don't mind me interrupting for a minute.
You go
So
ahead.
we have two who are going to abstain. Can we,
Sorry. Yeah, I'm involved in this project, so I would have to abstain from voting.
if we do, can we still call for a vote and move it to council?
I'm sorry, you don't have a majority on, you don't have enough people, you don't have
Well,
quorum.
we have a quorum, you're just abstaining from the vote, right?
Abstaining is considered a no vote.
It would still move it to council is the point I'm making.
It could, but it would show that y'all did not pass it because of the two abstained votes.
Well, and the other issue is you can't even make a motion because there's nobody to second it, so.
Right.
So should we table this one as well?
But you can't really table it either. It'll just have to die with no motion.
If we take no action, it dies completely and it does not move on, so
We can-
tabling would be the option.
You can
Come
table
back.
without having to have a vote. You don't necessarily have to have a vote with the table. We do it just as a courtesy, so everybody's on the same page. But we can table without taking a vote to table.
I mean, I don't have a say in this because Shane and I are out, so.
Yes, if we table it, it can come back on December 3rd.
So can I make a comment? I know it may not impact your decision here, but
Please.
my concern would be that even Commissioner Newsom may have to recuse himself as well. He has dealings with the county that is somewhat directly tied to this property. If we can't have a quorum for a vote, then how do we proceed?
Oh.
City council.
I mean, I don't foresee that changing if we get Clint and we get Thomas in here. You may have two, but then you still wouldn't have a majority to proceed with anything. Just my opinion.
I'm curious if what Drew brought up a minute ago, I mean, if we abstain for the legitimate reasons, it still goes to council for their final determination. And it can be explained at that time why the two abstaining votes were there.
But I think the question is, can we even actually get it to a vote? I mean, he can make the motion, but there's nobody to second the motion. Is-
Mm.
Is it gonna cause you significant?
We're already delayed. We were trying to be on the agenda for last month and we missed the 300, the abstracted list of owners for the deadline. It would push us, if we would be in that position, I would request the city hold a special meeting so we could proceed with this.
And my theory is if 3 of the 5 of us have some interest in this issue, honestly, the city might even need to appoint special commissioners for that one issue. I don't know. That's a Tom question. That's beyond my casual scope of.
Scott, I can interject something here that might
Sure,
help,
please.
and I'm not trying to postpone a decision, but, and there's an assumption that goes with this. Assuming that this passes, this replat, rezone request, which I don't know that it's going to be a problem, but
Sure.
it is an assumption at this point. That will not affect your construction start.
I don't know.
It would, I'm telling
not.
you, it would
Okay.
not,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So we're not looking at a construction start on this until sometime after the first of the year. Late January, possibly February. So if this were to go through in December, there should be no issues in terms of timeline. The only issue, if you will, is I'm making an assumption that this passes. But I think the city and the county have been working together on this, so I don't know that it's
For
really
over
gonna
a
be an
year.
issue.
Yes, yeah. It's just taken that long to get here.
Yeah.
So again, my concern would be, I don't think we're gonna have quorum for a vote for this regardless. So whatever that looks like, whether it's,
Yeah, I do think it gives us a little bit of time to get that figured out with the city attorney and district attorney's office maybe though.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, if Clint was here, we could at least get a second and move it one way or another, but without.
I can call
plan.
them. Okay, so just no action.
I would probably table it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to table 3C. Is there a second to table?
We don't need a second. She said we could table on just your request.
I request we table it. Thanks for everybody's patience while we work through that. On 3D, consideration and possible approval for a replat request for property located at the end of Linden Woods Drive.
Yes, this, the plat land in order to build, single-family homes.
Mr. Hightower, we've heard this one a couple times
Yes.
already, so I may just skip to the applicant if that's okay with you.
That's fine with
Okay.
me.
Is the applicant here?
Huh?
Hi, Ryan
Welcome.
Hackett. Thanks
you.
for letting me come back again. I've missed a couple of meetings, but had some representatives, and obviously we didn't quite get you the information that you needed at that time. Just wanted to follow up. We've met with the department heads and talked through and discussed the project. With the major issue being that secondary egress for the project. So we've come up with a solution with the department heads that we would probably be able to provide an emergency access road to be able to complete the first 20 with the intent that that would become a full road as we get some more financing and with the next round basically of single-family homes that we'd be able to do. So I think we did supply a site plan showing where that road would go. I thought we did. Maybe it's not. That's not it. I'm not sure where that one come up.
Would you mind putting up page 37 of the PDF for us?
That might.
So just for the record, this is what is in our packet.
Yeah.
If you look on the screen, this is all we have,
That is not
which
the
was
right.
less than what we had last month.
That's really weird. Because, so, I guess, I'm not sure why that didn't get in there. I saw it come through from our civil to Paul and everybody else. I'll just describe it. So there's that corner of Linden Woods, Thomas Way. Basically, is Thomas? Yeah. There's currently like a detention pond at the end of that we would have to restructure a little bit, but the road would go around would not that Thomas Way, the bottom Thomas Way, right there, because there's also a detention pond that has been built for the current apartments that are being constructed. But the road would then follow from Thomas up and then rejoin. I don't know, did you see this at all? This is the original, this is the platted area.
That was in our packet last month.
Yes. The one that was supposed to be in your packet this month shows the road continuing to come down, an egress road that then curves around the current detention pond and connects into the Thomas Way right there. No, that's an electrical easement right there.
So were those revisions submitted?
Yes, that's why I'm not sure why they're not in your packet. I apologize. I fully came expecting that's what it would show as an access road there. In the earlier versions, there was a cul-de-sac, and I think that was kind of the hang-up that we weren't showing the secondary access. I know that we'd submitted the cul-de-sac to kind of get some review comments back from the city, although this was kind of in the transition period when Reed was still here, and I don't know that we got any feedback from the city, and so that we've been here a couple of times trying to make sure that we could get it right. So that is currently the plan with the department heads of the city that we talked through with Paul and Philip and everybody else, that we would provide an emergency access road, and that would be built out as the new funding for some more single family. At the same time, those other, we discussed that because we were providing an emergency access road, we probably would not have to sprinkle those units because we would have emergency access. And we discussed an emergency access road of at least 20 feet. And then again, the intent is to use the housing stability program. I don't know if you were around when my partner Michael got up to talk about the housing stability program. It's administered through the Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency, giving a no-interest loan in order to keep the pricing of the homes more affordable. But they only allow you to do 20 homes at a time. So our intent is to reapply after the 20 homes are built and sold, and continue building out, I think, 60 homes, I think there. And then for sure, 60 homes would definitely warrant a second access, and we would want the second access as well at that point. It's just, there it is. That's the one that should have been in your packet. Apologize that it wasn't there earlier.
If I may make a suggestion of moving this agenda item to the end of our meeting, and Melody, if you would go print these for us to look at. We've not had a chance to look at this. Okay.
I have one more comment on that. I was in the special meeting on behalf of Planning and Zoning a week or two ago. And so I'm familiar with what you're talking about, and I think what you're proposing has the potential to work. Obviously, we aren't provided any of that information in our packet, which is too bad. And the engineering plans wouldn't be a plat for us to approve. So we need an actual plat.
There is a plat. There was a plat that was
there was one submitted?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
And I know the other discussion point was to fix the setbacks according to R3. Those were all fixed as well. So that's, I don't know exactly why it wasn't submitted to you, because it was like that Monday that we had the discussion with the staff in order to get you these things in the packet was then sent by our engineer to city staff, so. Yes.
It's okay, why don't we move this item to the end of our agenda and we'll come back to it. Apologize for the delay.
Okay.
Moving to 3E, consideration of possible approval for rezone request for property located at 501 Lee Avenue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Kennedy. I'm the new owner, myself and my husband, for 501 Lee Avenue. So we purchased it in June, and the listing agent had it to where you could put a manufactured home or a home. And the prior owner suggested that, and then we have an email from Reed that said it was non-conformed prior to 1981, so we could also put a manufactured home or a home. So the R4 was denied. I guess within the city limits, they didn't want a manufactured home. So we've requested a rezone of our R1 to be able to put a home on this property. We purchased the property because we were led to believe that we could put our future retirement home in this community. I am from this area. We're moving back from Oregon. And so this is going to be where we are retiring, myself and my husband, and my sister lives in Kingston. Her and her husband owns several acres. We have so much family, it's ridiculous. But so I'm basically here to try and request that we can build our home on the property. There's more than adequate room if anyone were to look. There is an area from the prior owner where years back, there was a home and a manufactured home. And when it was tore down, they had put a lot into a ditch. So the prior owner dug it up and was digging all of the stuff out where there was a prior home. We've already talked to a company that's going to help us fill that in, and we're going to remove the fence line, and it's completely adequate room to put a home for two people. We're not looking for a mansion. We're just looking for a comfortable home for a retired couple. And also to be able to come back to the area to assist my sister with taking care of our mother, who's 89 this week. So we're going to be coming back. So that's basically the request. It was a little disappointing because we were super excited. We shopped so many places for months, and basically chose this because we chose Durant, and we chose this property just outside. You have your clinics, you have close shopping, you had everything that we wanted for the comfort, and that's why we went ahead and purchased this particular property. So we're requesting that that you work with us to be able to build a residential home so we can become a part of your community. And then Jim is our neighbor. His family for decades has owned the adjoining property, and he can give a little history on that property if you'd like to hear from him. But that's our request to approve for an R1. Do you have any questions for me?
Happy
Yeah.
belated to your mother.
Oh, thank you.
Philip, did you have something for us?
The staff recommends approval of rezoning from R4 to R1 in accordance with the future map. Rezone from A1 to R1 to build a single-family home. Future land use shows R1.
And for clarification, this is A1 to R1.
Yeah.
Any questions for staff?
No, but I do have kind of a comment, and it's me being really petty and really picky. But on the section where we're talking about if staff has gotten letters for approval, can we be real sure that either that we're checking our grammar there, because it looks like y'all have gotten letters in support or objection, and I don't think there are any actually there. So, I think it's just a typo, but that's one of my things when I look at it and I'm like, oh, where's the letter? And then I don't see anything, so that's just me being real cranky.
It does say notifications have been made to the surrounding property owners, and at the time of this report, staff has received phone calls or letters of support or protest regarding this rezone.
So, like I said, it's just me being real picky. I just would like to be sure to make sure we look at that before we send those out.
So there have not been phone calls or letters?
We received one phone call. Once they found that we were not going back for R4, we were going for R1. They were completely happy with that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Philip, appreciate it. Is there anyone who wanted to speak for or against? Any discussion?
I have zero issue with this.
Yeah,
and
it seems
this is
like a
fine.
logical option for me.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. Keep in mind, this is a recommending board. Our recommendation goes to City Council, who will hear this next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. If we can circle back to 3D, consideration possible approval for a replat request on property located near the end of Linden Woods Drive. Staff has just now printed this for us, so if you don't mind, maybe give us a few minutes to look over.
Is it possible to zoom in on the actual drawing part? Oh, did you email it? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I don't think I got the plat, Melody. Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, would you describe, I know you did a little bit of that a minute ago before we were looking at the actual drawings that you had sent, but
Yeah.
Could you describe how the development of the road, the secondary means of access, is going to happen? Because I know that's going to be kind of a staged or phased
Yeah.
road that you put in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, the intent right now is to provide emergency access. My understanding right now is that there is availability per code to build a certain amount of units without a secondary access using fire sprinklers. But that the city has had some bad experience with some developers that are just using that to do like a 20 or 30 unit development and phasing it in and not ever providing the secondary access. So our intention is to show you that we will build at least the emergency access road with this phase. The intention is that this first 20, obviously in the site plan, not obviously, but does, and you're not seeing that with just the plat, but it does loop back into Linden Woods, and there would be more single-family units along that loops back into Lindenwood and creates that loop. Then on either side of the access road, there will be more single-family anticipated. So as those single-family would be built out, that road would also be built out as well.
Yeah. So thank you. I know we had some lengthy discussions a week or so ago in
Yeah.
that meeting, and so I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that them providing the secondary means of access is an emergency road at this time for any municipal emergency vehicle access. And as your future homes
Yeah.
get developed 20 at a time or whatever that
Right.
may be, you will continue to
Right.
kind of pave that and make that.
It's not a
secondary.
small road, and that's the hard part for us, is that
Sure.
finding the financing and investment into that road is pretty substantial. So that's why it needs to be phased, because that is, I mean, we're gonna go deep into our pockets to get the emergency access for the first 20 for sure. But to make it the full-sized road where we're having the traffic from the neighborhood using that road, we'd need to phase that in.
Does that satisfy?
I'm
Yeah,
happy
sorry.
with that. I mean, my issues were the setbacks and just that we had some sort of secondary access. This fixes it. I don't have any problem with it.
Shane, were you satisfied with setback changes?
Yes, I just zoomed in on it. I think that looks good.
Is there any other questions for the applicant?
Thanks for the efforts.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against? Any discussion? Just comment, I appreciate the effort on this. Get us something to look at. I know we had to go back and forth, but appreciate the effort. Thanks. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Would you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. Again, I know you guys probably know this. This is a recommending board. You'll go before council next Tuesday at 6. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Is there any new business, Philip? We have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Commissioner
all.
Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. Thank you.